To our special focus this evening, an investigation by the Wall Street Journal in the US found that the Meta-owned social media platform Instagram's algorithm helped connect and promote a vast network of accounts openly devoted to the commission and purchase of underage sexual content, primarily allowed pedophiles to not just search but also purchase child sexual content through certain hashtags. In a strong response, Meta has promised to better its system. NDTV's Arun Singh lays down the details for us.
A report has highlighted that Instagram is the most important platform for child sex abuse networks. Here are the details. This investigation is done by Wall Street Journal and researchers at Stanford University and the University of Massachusetts Amherst. The biggest finding, Instagram's algorithms links and promotes vast pedophile network. But how? The investigation found that Instagram allowed users to search hashtags related to child sex abuse. These hashtags led users to accounts that offered to sell pedophilic materials and even had videos of children harming themselves. But why is it alarming? An app, a platform, should be restricting these search queries like these. The fact that users can search and can get connected to accounts involved in questionable behavior is a big concern. This is what a Meta spokesperson told NDTV in response. We are committed to continuing our work to protect teens. Between 2020 and 2022, our teams dismantled 27 abusive networks, and in January 2023, we disabled more than 490,000 accounts for violating our child safety policies. As of Q4 2022, our technology removed over 34 million pieces of child sexual exploitation content from Facebook and Instagram, over 98% of which we found before it was reported to us. The report comes at a time when Meta and other social media platforms face scrutiny over their efforts to prevent the spread of abusive content on their platforms. Arun Singh for NDTV.
It's really a scary reality, especially if you're a parent, this kind of social media and the impact it has on children largely, and this report in specific. How do we keep our children safe from the social media universe? How do we regulate it? Well, joining us now, N.S. Nappinai, founder of Cyber Sati Foundation, which focuses on child safety online programs, and Professor Vinita Dwivedi, digital and social media expert. Thank you too for joining us. This is an extremely important topic. But my first question to you, Ms. Nappinai, is when you saw this report or heard about it, what was your reaction? Was it that I knew all along that this was the case, or was it news to you?
Well, actually, as a practicing lawyer, I'm part of one of the heartbreaking cases which has emanated from India, which is before the Supreme Court. We just call it in brief as Prajwala versus Union of India. But in that case, the Supreme Court evaluated the process of using artificial intelligence to root out child sexual abuse materials, or CSAM as we call it in brief, before it, after it's uploaded, but before it's published to the public for viewing. So when I saw this news article, everything that you said probably applies, because I'm part of this matter as amicus, and I'm aware of the seriousness of the issue of CSAM that's available online, and we are combating it through a legal process and using technology in terms of legal processes. But what made me feel sad was, here we are in this case, talking about the use of AI to block such content from hitting the public view, and you read about how AI is being used to promote this. So all I can say is this, that today there are very stringent laws that are likely to come up in multiple jurisdictions. The European Union, as usual, leads, where they are going to have a specific law for AI. And you also have US itself is looking at something like a Bill of Rights, and UK is also likely to come up with something.
Right.
So in the light of international developments, and particularly the EU's AI law, puts three categories, it's non-negotiable. The first category, where you cannot allow AI to be used for certain aspects, and this would squarely fall within that.
Okay.
So I would strongly suggest and advise that all platforms have to be really cautious in terms of how their algorithms work, because child sexual abuse is zero tolerance across the world.
Right.
So they cannot have algorithms promoting something like this.
Very important and educative point that you're making there. Professor Vinita Dwivedi, ultimately, for somebody like me, when I see that an Instagram or a Meta or one of these companies, they are the ones who understand AI the most. They are the ones who know what's coming, what's going to come in the next few years' time as well. Should then the onus and the responsibility shift towards them to ensure that content is regulated and that the combating or the antidote to such obsessive, obscene content is prevented at their end first before it comes out?
I think you're absolutely right, and the onus is on these major internet companies of the world like Google and Meta to do something about content moderation using AI, and like my fellow speaker just said, that child sexual abuse is completely not tolerable on the internet. But Veer Raghav, I would also say that now actually social media is a 10-year-old experiment actually in which children are willy-nilly are participants. Nobody really knew what's going to happen. And I am actually, your previous question was, were you surprised? I'm not surprised by something like this. You know, in social media networks work with the motto of increasing people's interaction, right? And Instagram is the fastest growing platform in Meta's entire repertoire as such.
Okay.
And so the young people are joining it. Children are joining it, and they are constantly engaged. In a country like India, for instance, where TikTok is also banned, young people are almost always on Instagram. So going back to your question to me, I'm saying the onus is not just on the companies, but on us as parents and on governments and society. We talk about EU regulation. We have to look at country-wide regulations. And just now, earlier, there was a report about Sam Altman talking about regulation of AI. And he has constantly actually been talking about regulation. And currently there is nothing. And before we can blink our eye, AI has moved 10x in one day's time.
Correct.
So we have to act fast right now, I think. The onus is on a lot of people.
Right. It's both on humans as well as machines. Ultimately, the onus in terms of trying to prevent this. Napinai, quickly, I mean, obviously we're running short of time. I wish there was artificial intelligence to extend time. But quickly, what do you think we can do in the short term? Because a lot of this long-term solutions, yes, it will evolve, but today, the danger is real and present right now. What do we do in the short term, in the next few days, to make sure that our children are safer when it comes to use of social media, apart from just educating them?
Absolutely. Education alone won't be sufficient. But in any event, let's start using whatever law we have in hand also. It's not like we don't have that empowerment in hand today. Under the new intermediary guidelines, the onus in terms of ensuring that no harm is caused to a child is on an intermediary. And if they fail to ensure that, then there is a liability that they lose their safe harbor. This is contrary in a way to the US situation where 2 cases were decided in 2023. Gonzalez versus Google and Twitter versus Thumbnail, where social media was exonerated for promoting terrorism. But in India, you have a very powerful tool under the intermediary guidelines. It's high time all of us start using it. As users, as parents, you can also file your complaints before the grievance officer of the platform where you find this kind of abusive content.
Right. Thank you.
They have to act within 24 hours.
As I mentioned, I only wish there was an artificial intelligence tool that would have given me more time to have this conversation, but unfortunately there isn't. We're running totally out of time. We promise to keep this conversation, which is extremely important, going, perhaps on another day. But for the moment, thank you too for joining us, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this extremely important topic.